We have still more news to bring you from that chaotic developing nation formerly known as the Commonwealth of Virginia. As of tonight, Virginia's three highest-ranking public officials, all of them Democrats, are embroiled in potentially career-ending scandals, and it seemed to come out of nowhere just last week. First, you'll remember Democratic Governor Ralph Northam casually endorsed infanticide while defending a Democratic bill to legalize abortion right up to the minute of birth. Then just hours after he said that, a little over a day, I think, Northam was found to have a picture of men wearing a Ku Klux Klan uniform and blackface on his med school yearbook page. Oops. Almost immediately, pretty much the entire Democratic Party leadership called on Ralph Northam to resign his office. And among the most vocal was the Attorney General of Virginia, Mark Herring. Herring was appalled that Northam would do this. He just couldn't believe that someone could be that racist. And then today, Herring admitted that he, too, has appeared in blackface, which apparently is the equivalent of business casual for Democrats in Virginia. Will Herring resign over this revelation? Will party leaders ask him to resign? We're still waiting to find out. But in the meantime, we're mesmerized as well by the saga of Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. Just days ago, Fairfax thought he was going to replace Ralph Northam as governor. Then it turned out that he, too, may be forced to resign from office, because a professor in California called Vanessa Tyson says that Fairfax violently sexually assaulted her at the 2004 Democratic National Convention in Boston, where both of them were volunteering, because both are fervent Democrats. At the time, Fairfax was a, quote, body man for disgraced Senator John Edwards, because the details here are just too perfect to make up. Tyson came forward a couple of days ago, and when she did, according to two sources who were in the room, Fairfax's first response to the story from Vanessa Tyson was, quote, F that bitch. It's not really the classic feminist reaction to an allegation of sexual assault. Now, Lieutenant Governor, Vanessa Tyson, has released a highly detailed account of what she says happened to her and how has it affected her life ever since. It's all online, and it makes for harrowing reading if you care to read it. For Democrats, though, the response to all of this ought to be really obvious, because they just went through something amazingly similar a few months ago. Another professor from California accused another public figure of far less serious crimes with far fewer corroborating details. Democrats know they have to believe all women. They've told us that countless times. But this time, they don't believe all women. They don't care about Vanessa Tyson. F her, in the words of the Lieutenant Governor. She's in the way. Watch presidential candidate Cory Booker, and a self-described very good person, dismiss Tyson completely today as unimportant. Watch this.
I think we should be focusing on what's right now happening with the governor. I know you guys are going to try to focus on a lot of things right now, but right now my focus is on, again, calling for the governor to step down.
Yeah, Booker's got better things to focus on than some girl in California who's alleging sexual assault against one of his party mates. The Cory Booker of just a few months ago would be disgusted by the Cory Booker you just saw. Back then, sexual politics seemed more important than race politics. And now, it's the other way around. It's the never-ending car crash of intersectionality. Here's a reminder of the way it once was.
How we deal with survivors who come forward right now is unacceptable. And the way we deal with this, unfortunately, allows for the continued darkness of this culture to exist. And your brilliance, shining light onto this, speaking your truth, is nothing short of heroic.
Well, it was short of heroic then. It was a light in the darkness of our culture that Cory Booker, because, once again, he's an incredibly good person, way better than you, and he went to Yale, was going to shine to make this a better society. Now, who cares about this woman? Will she shut up already? What to make of this sudden change in attitude?
Elizabeth Warren is speaking about her history of claiming Cherokee Indian heritage on applications and otherwise. The most recent instance in the news, her application for the Texas bar, wherein she herself wrote exactly that, as witnessed here. Warren started speaking during the commercial break, so we DVR'd it for you, and we'll play it from where we began recording. Listen.
About tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty, and for harm caused. I am also sorry for not being more mindful of this decades ago. Tribes and only tribes determine tribal citizenship. I had a good conversation with Chief Baker. He was very gracious, And we continue to talk about issues and continue to work on issues that matter deeply to Indian country, and continue to work on things that we both care a lot about.
So, Senator, why did you list yourself as an American Indian on this Texas bar application?
So this was about 30 years ago, and I am not a tribal citizen. Tribes and only tribes determine citizenship. When I was growing up in Oklahoma, I learned about my family the same way most people do. My brothers and I learned from our mom and our dad and our brothers and our sisters, and those were our family stories. But that said, there really is an important distinction of tribal citizenship. I am not a member of a tribe, and I have apologized for not being more sensitive to that distinction. It's an important distinction.
The president has made the case that you've used this part of your background to get ahead. Are you saying that this is something you fundamentally believed about yourself, or how do you respond to that criticism, that this was a knowing attempt to get ahead by using that claim of ancestry?
So that is a claim that has been fully investigated, and it has now been shown completely that nothing about my background ever had anything to do with any job I got in any place. It's been fully documented, and there's no evidence of any kind other than it had nothing to do.
Are there any more documents or any more forms like this out there that you have listed yourself as that could come out?
Look, this is who I grew up believing with my brothers. This is our family story. And it's all consistent from that point in time. But as I said, it's important to note I'm not a tribal citizen, and I should have been more mindful of the distinction with tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty. And that is why I apologize to Chief Baker, and why I've made a very public apology about
Senator,
this.
there could be more forms.
I'm sorry?
Could there be other documents out there with you self-identifying as American Indian?
So all I know is during this time period, this is consistent with what I did because it was based on my understanding from my family's stories. But family stories are not the same as tribal citizenship, and this is why I have apologized both to Chief Baker, who was very gracious about it, and have apologized publicly.
But Senator, this most recent incident just came out yesterday. Have you spoken with him, with Chief Baker, since this new incident was released? And have you heard from any Native American tribes or groups today since that information came out yesterday?
So I haven't spoken with anyone since I saw this information, no. But my apology is an apology for not having been more sensitive about tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty. I really want to underline the point. Tribes and only tribes determine tribal citizenship. It is an issue of tribal sovereignty.
How do you think voters will react to this?
I'm sorry?
How do you think voters will react to this?
You know, I'm sure there are pundits who will have an answer for that. But understand, this is from the heart. This is about my family, my brothers, and it is about an apology from the heart. An apology for not being more sensitive to tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty, and for harm caused.
Have you considered dropping out of the race?
Last question is the most appropriate one. How will voters respond? Because this is cultural appropriation defined. And the question is, was she trying to gain some sort of advantage, in this case, in the Texas bar, over those who did not consider themselves, quote, American Indian, unquote, which she is not.